Hello and welcome to my build of the Matchbox SRN6 hovercraft. I always viewed this as a slightly boring one of the castings. I did get it as a kid and it weren't one I was overplussed with, and my idea on this video is to see if I can make something a little more interesting out of it. I'm thinking of putting it in a diorama, which you will see coming up, and doing a couple of things with it. I've done with model boats and aircraft, transferring the ideas to hovercraft. So should make things interesting, and also incorporate ideas that I use in my artwork as an artist. I do that on dioramas anyway. The idea of a diorama is telling a story. Anyway, here I'm drilling off the base. I won't be bothering to screw it back on, so it's more of a modelling project this than as a die cast. And there we have the top bits exposed for the cowling, for the engine gearboxes, etc. for the props. And drill got a little bit stuck there, there we are. It's out. And here I'm taking it out of the vise. Next up, take the chassis off, pull the drill running the right direction, and there we go. Turn it round and get the other side. Come on, pull yourself together, man. And there we go. Get it. Oh no, we don't. Come on. Drill through your fingernails, Patsy, that'll be a good idea. And there we go, drilling the chassis up. And that chassis is going to be put to one side to be used for other projects. It's a good chassis, and I'm not going to be putting it back on to use for this project. There's the window unit, in remarkably good condition, but because of the nature of the casting it's recessed back quite a bit, and that's the gearbox, propeller, etc. There we go, chuck out the chassis. That's a good chassis that's going to get used in something else, or the wheels, because they're nice and straight. They may be used on another super fast vehicle. And twiddling them about there. Well, there we are, yeah, really good chassis. Nice and straight, so it can go on one that probably buckles up easy. I'm sure I'll find something I can use it on. And next up is planning out the diorama. First off, I split it up into rules of thirds, which is like noughts and crosses grid, which gives you ideas for pictures as an artist. Like you have lines like that you'll use for your horizon. It's different in a diorama, but I'm working on the theory of putting stuff in the rule of thirds intersection, is how it transforms onto dioramas. If you put subjects in these intersections, it makes them a bit more interesting, particularly if you're not putting a lot onto that diorama, which really for features this will be a minimalist. And this is something called the golden spiral, that again is used for art, for putting elements of the design onto. to make it more interesting. And which there on the top intersection, I'm thinking of having a boy. Nice, not a boy, a seagoing boy, not one of them boys. And the aircraft, the hovercraft rather, is going to sit about there on the diorama, and the tail off up the intersection is going to be the wash where the hovercraft's been, because as hovercrafts turn, they sort of crab, they don't do direct turns because they sort of crab through the water. Anyway, take off the wrapping off the frame next, split it down, and here we are, putting on some filler. It's just basic poly filler. It's not an ideal frame, this one. I'd have preferred one with a hardboard back, and turned it round so the grain grit, take the glass out, then turn it round so the filler grit to the grain. As it is, I've just put it on the plastic glass, and it may crack, may not. But teach me in future, instead of buying new ones, buy one from a second-hand shop. And here the castings in the caustic soda, and as kids do, on the other side you'll see it after, the child has picked off the sticker, and what remains of the sticker underneath, as you've got SRN6, which was the original sticker, and the child has designed to do a prototype, and if you can see it, he's done the SR8, which SR stood for Saunders Row. So I don't know, I've not looked up the history, they may have done an 8, but the SRN6 was used by a company called, I think it was Hover Travel or something, whose colours I'm going to be putting it into. So should make a nice little interesting build, and should make a nice dial. There we have the Merkles of release, and here I am just going over with a wire brush, just get the last little bits of paint off the casting so it looks tidy. And here there was already one blade missing, but I'm cutting off all the other blades, which you'll see the reason for that later. It's a thing I do with aeroplanes. And here is a pen I got for Christmas off a friend. There's a bit more than a pen. If you open one side, there's a dual screwdriver in the end, a flat blade and a crosshead blade. Put that back on, and there's a rubber on the top for pencil, I'm presuming. And if you look on the sides, it has a spirit level and ruler markings. Unscrew this side, and you've got the pen, and God knows what it is at the top. I'm unsure in that side. I'm sure it has some sort of function, but I'm not 100%. But it's a good little thing to have on my workbench. If only for the screwdriver for my small screws. It works like a trooper. And next I'll be going on to cleaning my airbrush. I'm putting through some cellulose thinners. It basically strips off any sort of paint and cleans it out. Here it's all but blocked through my spraying before, because I rarely do a full strip down clean. I only do it if I need to oil my needle. I find the less I strip an airbrush the better, and using cellulose just eats all the other paints inside it. The last paint I was spraying was Vallejo green, and it's had quite an impact on the nozzle, so it's taking all that colour out, and take the actual nozzle off so I can get to the needle underneath and brush the front part. The only real parts that do any work with the paint that need cleaning is the front needle, the tube up to it that you can see underneath there, and the paint ball, because the rest is just using air really. So I avoid stripping it and putting cellulose through, so it flushes the paint out, it eats it, dilutes it down and flushes it out. Does a good job, and it saves stripping all the time. There I was just cleaning the needle end out again, well, the nozzle end out again, and I've cleaned the nozzle, just got the cellulose thinners in it, and as you can see it starts off slowly there, and in the next shot where you'll see it, it broadens the fan out where it starts cleaning it. Here in this next shot you'll see a difference, and there we go, that's back to spotless again. Basically all I ever do. And here I'm drilling out the hovercraft exhausts because they just look like blank pieces of plastic. So I've drilled them out, and once I paint it up it'll look a lot better. And here I'm painting it white. I don't think there were any that were actually red in colour on that part. Hover travels were certainly white, and I'm in two minds at the moment whether to print the decals. I think I probably will. I may well download the drivers tonight for my printer and download the drivers for it and make some decals. And here I'm spraying, I'd already primed it, I'm just spraying the white onto the upper body of the hovercraft, and here I'm spraying dark rubber. It's Vallejo dark rubber, it's in the Armour series. I forget what they call the series, but it's all for Armour, and the colour's dark rubber. It makes rubber look better than just doing it black or whatever, because rubber seldom is actually black, it's more like a dark grey. And on this I'll be doing weathering anyway, so it'll be a big difference to it. I'll be doing a wash for the darker areas and doing a weathering powder for the top highlights. And here I'm just scraping the edges of the photo frame, scraping the filler off. I'll probably actually paint the frame. Once I've painted what I'm doing on the diorama, I'll probably paint the frame. So just scraping the excess plaster off. And here I've finished scraping the plaster off, and we're going on to now actually working on the dial on the board. I'm going to be scraping off the top of the dial. Oh no, I've already done that, the top where the hovercraft goes. Ah, here we go, this is better here. I'm mixing up a PVA water mix. It's roughly about half water and half PVA glue, like a woodworking glue. And there's some tissue paper. You don't have to worry about embossed patterns in your toilet tissue, as that will come out as you work it. So here I'm white brushing on the PVA glue, ready for the paper to go down on. So there's the toilet tissue being laid on. Break the surface there to make the bite come up and through it. And there I'm tamping it down so we can lose the seam where it joins. And we can lose the embossing on the paper as we tamp it down. It's being further wet with the PVA glue. And then once all that's done, I'll push the hovercraft into it where I want it to be. And I'll start baking the bow waves and stuff off it, etc. They're a bit different to a boat in that they'll leave lines where they go rather than bow waves out. We do bow waves to a degree, but it's a bit different with the vehicle hovering over the water rather than being submerged into it. It's a little different. And here I'm just adding to the waves where the hovercraft will have been. I don't want waves, I just want disturbed water, really, to be honest. And leave the waves in the undisturbed water around it. And once that's done, I just put it aside to dry. And here we have my selection of paints I'll be using for the diorama. As I'm an artist, I use all different and varied paints. This is my acrylic paints set. It goes pretty deep in that box, but I have everything from the very basic cheapo brands to I mainly use Atelier Interactives, which you can see there on top. And they're an open acrylic, as they know, which you can blend for ages after. But as it is, any'll do for the diorama I'm doing, as I don't need much blending time. And without that further ado, here we go. I'm using some dark blue and also a Mars black there. Mars black has a slightly browny tint to it, so probably not really the most ideal, but it'll do for what I'm using it for. Here, I could have probably used a normal black which gives more of a bluey tint, but Mars black is mixed to the browner side of black. Anyway, here I've put a bit of white in it to lighten it up a bit, make it more towards the grey. And there, I'm not too bothered about it being blotchy, because the nature of the subject I'm painting is slightly different coloured areas. in different areas, so it's good to be off like that blotchy. And next off, I'm putting some more whites on, and I'm mixing in what is known as, to us artists certainly, as phthalo turquoise, which begins PHT. It's my phthalo, and what I'm using this for is to highlight the area of disturbed water where the hovercraft will have travelled through. Well, it's travelled over, but they still disturb the water to a degree, even though they're not actually in it. They're disturbing the surface and they're blowing air down onto the surface, so it will disturb the water, even though mostly it's not in it. And at this point it looks not too well, it doesn't look too bad I suppose, but it doesn't look its best. I've put the hovercraft hull on there to decide where the path would have been and where it will be blowing behind it. And here I'm just painting on the hovercraft's hull colour. It was a sort of coppery red from what I can make out on online photos. And here I'm using Tamiya weathering powder white to brush onto the hull rubber, just to give the upper surfaces weathered look and to bring out a bit of the detail. It's only quick wipe over with it. And down the other side, as you can see, rubber, to make it look more realistic, it's seldom actually the real dark black that most portrayed as. It's more of a grey colour. The colour I used on the hull was Vallejo dark rubber, and with the white it just gives the highlights for it. So once all assembled it will look more like the rubber skirting. And there we are, it does look a lot better. I've convinced myself anyway, and that's the important part I suppose. Here I'm just putting on some orange to brighten up the boy. I've got a bit on the actual sea, but the areas I've got it on don't matter too much, as it can be sorted out with the white highlights, what I'm dry brushing on for the waves, just the crests of the waves and the disturbed water. Just makes it that little bit better what you're aiming at, and it's why I made the actual base very dark. You're putting white on top, so you're aiming at a good contrast to make it striking to the eye. Right, the dark sea with the white crests on top gives a good contrast and makes it striking to the eye. And once that's on, I've put that on again to figure out where the areas are the most white would be. And I'm working off with it being an hovercraft, not only the underneath of the hovercraft disturbing the water, but also on the propeller on the top, disturbing the water. And here we have it off the desk, and I'm spraying with project enamel gloss. And here I'm just painting on the black detail. It's like a matte black. And here I've painted the exhausts so they look a bit more prototypical. And here I'm starting to do the decals. I made my own decals at home for the hover travel livery, and they've turned out quite well, look very much like the prototype. And here I'm cutting out a disc for the prop disc, cutting it out of some clear plastic card. Although this, it isn't really styrene and it's being glued to polythene, so I had to use super glue to glue it on. Then once I did, I put some yellow paint on a dish and spun it round, just dipping the edge in the layer of yellow paint, so I had a band round for the yellow tips on the props. And here I'm using cotton wool balls plucked out to give the spray effect, and it's just, I've stuck the hovercraft down with PVA, then the bits of PVA out of the edge have been used to set the glue. And here, rather than the turntable finish, I'm having a selection of photos of the diorama just to show around it basically and show what it is. If I were doing it again, I'd pay a bit more attention to some masking in some areas and mask better and change a couple of methods, but barring that, I think it turned out quite well. Anyway, thanks for all your subscribers, and if you've enjoyed what you've watched, please subscribe. And even better if you click the bell icon for being notified. Thank you and goodbye, and see you in my next video. Goodbye.